Good evening, everybody. Let's begin with Ezra chapter 5, verse 1. And it says, Then the prophets Haggai, the prophet, and Zechariah, son of Iddo, prophesied to the Yahudim who were in Yahudah, in Jerusalem, in the name of the Elah, or the mighty one of Israel, upon them. I'm going to read the end of the previous chapter. Then the work of the house of Elah, which is at Jerusalem, ceased, and it ceased until the second year of the reign of Darius, sovereign of Persia, Darius. So that's when they try to stop the building, and as it said there, it ceased until the time of Darius. So now in this chapter we have the prophets Haggai and Zechariah, which are two very important prophets whom they call the minor prophets, mainly because their prophecies are smaller in comparison to that of Isaiah, Ezekiel, and Yirmiyahu, but they are as important as those prophets in the sense of the prophecies they gave and everything that is in their writings. Haggai is only a couple chapters, but it is very important, and it speaks of the end times and what Yahweh would do through the last, represented by Zerubbabel, which is found here as well. And Zechariah is important also because it prophesies the coming of the first and the coming of the last, the coming of the two witnesses, the coming of Mashiach on a donkey, the coming of the last to destroy the last kingdom, and several other things that are found in Zechariah. In fact, it is a very important book, I believe. Well, they are all hugely important, but Zechariah, for some reason, I see like there's not much attention paid to it, while I have seen that there are a lot of important prophecies found there regarding our time. So I think that it's perhaps more important than most people believe. Also, it's interesting that it doesn't mention the father of Haggai, but it does mention the father of Zechariah, which shows importance to who that was, and also the meaning of the name, which we'll see in a moment. Haggai means my feast. Zechariah, Yahweh remembers. Iddo means my or his witness. Iddo would be his witness. So in my feast, Yahweh will remember his witness. Just there we have the fact that during the feast of Yahweh in the end times, as we know, the feast of the seventh month, Yahweh will remember his people, represented by Zechariah, through his witness, represented by the name Iddo. Also, Iddo was a prophet, so that's perhaps the literal reason why his name is there. Not a prophet in the sense of the 24 prophets that prophesied of Mashiach directly and who are around the throne in the book of Revelation, but is one of the prophets that we see throughout the Old Testament. So he had prophecy, but there's no book of him like there is of his son. Then the prophets Haggai the prophet and Zechariah son of Iddo prophesied to the Yahudim who were in Yahudah and Jerusalem in the name of the mighty one of Israel upon them. It says here, Beshem Elah Israel Aleihon. Here we see the name Iddo, which is begins with witness, aid, and above of possession. So his witness, and it has an aleph as well, which gives a little bit more meaning to it, because to give testimony of the first, like the aleph is the first letter, coming as the ox, the bull that will be sacrificed on Yom Kippur, represented by the aleph as well. So his witness is the ox of Yom Kippur, who gives testimony of the first, Yahushua, and who happens to be also the prophet like Moshe prophesied in Deuteronomy. Then Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, and Yeshua, son of Yotzadak, he is justice. Then Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, and Yeshua, son of Yotzadak, rose up and began to build the house of Elah, which is in Jerusalem, and the prophets of Elah were with them. Elah meaning the Almighty. In short, like I already said, Haggai and Zechariah are very important. Their books are very important, and they are connected to these people, especially to Zerubbabel and Yeshua, as a representation of the two witnesses, and also as a representation of the first and the last, because in the book of Zechariah, Yeshua is called Yahushua. So as the name is the name of Mashiach, reason why that name is written that way in Zechariah, it represents the first, and Zerubbabel, as mentioned in Zechariah, represents the last. But when it comes to the two olive trees of Zechariah 4, when it comes to over here, for instance, saying Zerubbabel and Yeshua, is connected to the two witnesses manifesting in the end times. Yahushua HaMashiach is the high priest. The witness Eliyahu will be the priest. So that's why there is a connection between Eliyahu and Yahushua, even through the name given here to represent both the first and Eliyahu. So Yahushua is the name of the first. Yeshua is obviously connected because he has the same root, is the same person, but the name here is different. And like I said, in this case would represent that priest, not the high priest, but the priest next to the king, represented by Zerubbabel, born in confusion, the desired one, who brings salvation through the justice or righteousness of the mighty one, through the teaching of Shalom. So I know that we're going to see the names later, but I just wanted to show how just these names at the beginning already told a story regarding the coming of the last, teaching of the first, to bring the salvation through the true doctrine that brings the Shalom that surpasses all understanding. And like I said, in Haggai is when the prophet tells Zerubbabel to go and build. And it even mentions when they started building. I'll just read a couple verses. Haggai 1 says, in the second year of Darius, remember that we just read that the building was stopped until that moment. For at the end, then the work of the house of Elah, which is at Jerusalem, ceased, and it ceased until the second year. Until the second year of the sovereign of Persia. And we have in Haggai, in the second year of Darius, the sovereign, in the 6th month, not new moon, but month, on the first day of the month. I explained that many times in past studies, so I won't do it right now. That's a wrong translation. It's a month. On the first day of the month, the word of Yahweh came to Haggai, the prophet, to Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, governor of Yehudah, and to Yahushua. You see the difference here? In the prophets, the name appears as Yahushua. In the writings, the name appears as Yeshua, because in the writings is history. In the prophets is prophecy. So it represents the coming of Mashiach. Even though, obviously, we find prophecy even in the writings all the time, it's all prophetical because it was all written by Yahweh. There is a clear difference between what the prophets would say and how they would say it, next to what the historians would write about when it comes to the writings, Chronicles, Kings, Shemuel, etc. So it says, in the second year, on the first day of the month, the 6th month, meaning Elul, which is when the 40 days of purification begin? Most likely when Mashiach went into the desert after being immersed by Yahuhanan the immerser. He went into the desert 40 days and 40 nights to then be tempted by the enemy. So that most likely started on this day, because there are 40 days exactly till Yom Kippur, which is when Mashiach would have started his ministry officially. On the first day of the month, the word of Yahweh came to Haggai, the prophet, to Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, governor of Yahudah, and to Yahushua, son of Yahud-Sadak. You see how also Yod-Sadak here appears as Yahud-Sadak, which means the justice, righteousness of Yahweh. In the book of Ezra, it appears as he is righteousness, but we don't know who is he. Here we know that is Yahweh. So the high priest saying, thus spoke Yahweh of hosts, saying, these people have said the time has not come, the time the house of Yahweh is to be built. Then the word of Yahweh came by Haggai the prophet. So you see how the people were saying, no, it's not time, no, they shouldn't build, no, they are evil, telling the king that he shouldn't allow them to build, etc. So now Yahweh is speaking through the prophet Haggai, saying, they say one thing, I say another. And we'll see whose word will stand. Just like in our time, a lot of people, and I just find weird and crazy for somebody to not see the signs and know that it is the end. But for people to nowadays say that it is not the end, or to hope for things to get better, shows the blindness, of course, but it's part of this that we see right here. They say the time has not come for the prophecies to be fulfilled, for the book of Revelation to happen, for the mark of the beast, right? So many signs that the mark of the beast is being built right in front of our faces and people are running to get it. I mean, the prototype, pretty much, as I had explained, right? Because the way they are treating it is just like the mark of the beast. So for people not to see those signs and say, no, the time has not come, that cannot be the mark of the beast because the time has not come. How do you know? What signs are you seeing? What are you waiting for? Are you reading? Do you know even? It's all about feeling. They feel like it shouldn't because they don't want to, so they ignore it, they deny it, and they hope that it will go away. Like everything in this reality that passes. But when it comes to the word of Yahweh, will never pass. The world will pass before his word passes. So thus spoke Yahweh of hosts, saying, these people have said the time has not come, the time the house of Yahweh is to be built. Then the word of Yahweh came by Haggai the prophet, saying, is it time for you yourselves to dwell in your panel houses and this house to be in ruins? And now thus said Yahweh of hosts, consider your ways. You have sown much, but brought in little. Eat, but do not have enough. Drink, but you are not filled with drink. Clothe yourselves, but no one is warm. And he who earns wages to put into a bag with holes. It continues. Like I said, I was going to end up reading everything, so I'm going to stop myself. If we go to the next chapter, well, look at the end. On the 24th day of the 6th month. So there were 24 days right there. So 24 days from the beginning of the teaching till this moment. Those 24 also represent the 24 elders around the throne, the 24 prophets I just mentioned earlier. And then I'll go to the second chapter real quick. So in the 7th month, on the 21st of the month, this is important. And also look how it doesn't make sense on the 21st of the new moon. How can it, I mean, I guess you should, like, if they believe in the new moon as the beginning of the month, they should say on the 21st from the new moon or something, because the 21st is 24 days after the new moon. So how can it be of the new moon? It can be of the month, but not of the new moon, because the new moon only has 24 hours, not days. So month. In the 7th month, on the 21st of the month, the word of Yahweh came by Haggai the prophet, saying, so the 21st, as we know, is the last day of Sukkot, an important day, and it would be the last day. It all seems to point to the last day of being in this reality, because the harvest would happen the very next day. The seventh trumpet on Shemini Atzeret, the eighth assembly. So this is all connected to that. The last day of Sukkot says, speak, please, to Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, governor of Yehudah, and to Yahushua, son of Yahutzadak, the high priest, and to the remnant of the people, the chosen few, saying, who is there left among you who saw this house in its former esteem? And how do you see it now? Is it not in your eyes as not when compared to it? And now be strong, Zerubbabel, declares Yahweh, and be strong, Yahushua, son of Yahutzadak, the high priest, and be strong, all you people of the land. Just in case I mentioned Eliyahu being the priest, the fact that Yahushua is the high priest, that's to show that Mashiach, Yahushua, is the high priest in heaven. And be strong, all you people of the land, declares Yahweh, and work, for I am with you, declares Yahweh of hosts. That's wonderful. Work, for I am with you. So Yahweh is telling them to work to build the temple the day before Shemini Atzeret. Just like the chosen few, that same day will be preparing to become the temple the day after on Shemini Atzeret. Be strong, all you people of the land, declares Yahweh, and work, for I am with you, declares Yahweh of hosts. And we could even also speak of Yahweh being with us at the moment for us to be able to accomplish what is left to be done. With you when you came out of Mizraim, right? The covenant that Yahweh made with us. And my spirit is remaining in your midst. Do not fear. And then it continues. Like I said, I won't read the whole thing. Then verse 10, on the 24th of the 9th month. Oh, so now they say 9 months, right? Why not new moon? All right. So it says, Be'ezrim, well, in the 24th of the 9th in the year. All right, so since it doesn't mention Chodesh, that's why they didn't write new month. That's why they wrote month like that, because month is not actually there, but it's on the 9th, so we know it refers to the 9th month. That is the day right before Hanukkah. As we know, Hanukkah is on the 25th of the 9th month. It's interesting that Hanukkah and Sukkot are mirrors of each other. And we just read that at the beginning of this chapter, they were at the end of Sukkot. And now they are at the beginning of Hanukkah. Hanukkah was not a feast yet, but this verse is taken as a prophecy of Hanukkah, as Yahweh preparing us for that feast eventually, which happened 150 years or so before Mashiach. So on the 24th of the 9th month, like I said, one day before Hanukkah, shows also the connection between Hanukkah and Sukkot, representing the harvest. It says, in the second year of Darius, the word of Yahweh came unto Haggai the prophet, saying, thus said Yahweh of hosts, now ask the priest concerning the Torah, saying, so it continues. And I guess, I don't know if that book is already read, but we could read it anytime, for it's only 2 chapters, so that it can be there recorded. So now, let me go back to Ezra 5. Then Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, and Yeshua, son of Yotzadak, rose up and began to build the house of Elah, which is in Jerusalem, and the prophets of Elah were with them, helping them. Look how it would be like in the end times, spiritually, the witness like Moshe, the witness Eliyahu, getting ready to give the testimony for 3.5 years. They rose up, and let me see if it is Kum, because if it's Kum, it connects with the coming of the last through Joseph. Even if it was Amat, but as I always mention, Kum is like more connected with Joseph. In verse 2, it says Bar Yotzadak. So yeah, it's speaking in Aramaic. That's why we won't find the Kum. It says Bar Yotzadak Be Sharai, which would be they rose up. But like I said, it would be in Aramaic. However, still it's important because you see the root is the same root of Israel, Sar, which is what we find in Daniel as a title of Michael, who's coming in the end. He's the Sar, the prince, the minister. And I was looking for the name Israel, so you could see, okay, here it is. You see Israel, Sar, Sar. But I'll continue. So they rose up and began to build the house of Allah, which is in Jerusalem, and the prophets of Allah were with them, helping them. So the prophets of Allah, the mighty one, were with them, helping them. Obviously, it means in the literal sense. And it wouldn't be all the prophets, it would be the ones alive at the moment that he just mentioned, Zechariah and Haggai. But in the spiritual sense, is like the two witnesses beginning the ministry, the 3.5 years of testimony. Interesting that is also written in Aramaic, as in the two witnesses appearing within the nations with a different language than Hebrew. And the prophets helping them, spiritually speaking, not necessarily their spirits, like following them and giving them the word, but everything that the prophets wrote is what the witnesses, the two witnesses, will use in order to do their prophesying, their testimony. So all the prophets will go with them in a sense and help them build, because Mashiach is the cornerstone. And as we know, the apostles are the foundation. The patriarchs are the doors, the gates. And obviously that foundation that we found, that we see in the New Covenant regarding the apostles, pretty much is the same of the prophets in the Old Covenant. So it's as if the writings of the prophets are the beginning, and now what the two witnesses are going to do is the very end, because when they end their testimony, the seventh trumpet sounds, and that ends everything that the prophets had said, as it is written in Revelation 10. So the prophets began, now the two witnesses will end, just like here. In fact, Zechariah and Haggai are two of the prophets that came at the end of the Old Covenant. So it is like representing at the very end of time, when the two witnesses appear, like Zerubbabel and Yeshua, all of the prophets are behind them, helping them, because they already wrote everything that they have to say, that they have to interpret. So at that time, Tattenai, the governor beyond the river, and Shetar Bozenai and their companions came to them and said this to them: who has made you a decree to build this house and to complete this wall? Always, right? These people, this type of people, because they weren't always the same people. At that time, Tattenai, the governor beyond the river, and Shetar Bozenai and their companions came to them and said this to them: who has made you a decree to build this house and to complete this wall? As we just saw in the book of Haggai, it was Yahweh himself. These people, Tattenai, Shetar, Bozenai, are saying it is not time to build, but Yahweh is saying it is time. And as we know, Artaxerxes gave the decree in the physical sense. Then we told them what the names were of the men who were building this building. Look at that, it's interesting. Then we told them what the names were. We told them what the names were. Who told them? The two witnesses. So it's like prophesying. The two witnesses appear to prophesy, to explain what the names are: the name of the Father and the name of the Son. Even the name of the 144,000, because they are chosen by Yahweh through the two witnesses' testimony. Then we told them what the names were. I repeat, like the two witnesses telling the world, even the many, like the Tattenai and Shetar, what the names are. Obviously, it's representing the names of the people building. But in this case, we know that the people building represent 144,000. And the 144,000 are sealed with the name of the Father and the Son. So they are told what the names are. Then we told them what the names were of the men who were building this building. And the eye of their mighty one was upon the elders of the Yahudim. And the eye of their mighty one was upon the elders of the Yahudim, so that they could not make them cease until the matter went to Darius. And then they sent back a letter concerning this. Well, also, I mentioned Artajerjes a moment ago, referring to the last two decrees that were sent in order for everything to be built. This sovereign came right before Artajerjes, and Darius or Darius, he gave a decree. So he also gave a decree, but that was the second decree. Then there were two more which came through Artajerjes. So, and the eye of their mighty one. It's verse 5. Ve'ain elahahom was upon them. So, and the eye of their mighty one was upon the elders of the Yahudim, so that they could not make them cease until the matter went to Darius. And then they sent back a letter concerning this. They sent back a letter concerning this. This is a copy of the letter that Tattenai, governor beyond the river, had sent, and Shatar Bozenai and his companions, the officials beyond the river, to Darius, the sovereign. They sent a letter to him, and this was written in it: to Darius, the sovereign, all shalom, all peace. Let it be known to the sovereign that we, like, just with that, I mean, it's amazing. How can these people live with themselves, right? I mean, the type of people that they don't do anything with their lives, and they don't want anybody else doing anything. And so since that which they would do would shine a light on that which they don't do, they make everything in their power to avoid anybody doing anything. And I'm just saying doing anything because it fits everything in life. As in the people, for instance, like I always mentioned, getting the injections, and they are so mad at the people that are not getting them because they are not afraid, because they study, because they research, and they don't want to research. They don't want to do that. They don't want to trust in the Almighty. They don't want to believe that Yahweh is the one in control and not the government, not nature, etc. So they get mad at us when they actually are showing that, in fact, they should get mad at themselves. And in a way they are, but they project it at us. So we see these people informing the king, the sovereign. We found these people doing something that I don't think you should let them do. Let it be known to the sovereign that we went into the province of Yehudah, to the house of the great mighty one, which is being built with heavy stones, and timber is being laid in the walls. And this work goes on speedily and is blessed in their hands. Then we asked those elders, saying this to them: who made you a decree to build this house and to complete these walls? And we also asked them their names in order to inform you, so we could write the names of the men at their head. Just like the 144,000 will be written in the book of life, will be found there when it is completely open after the seventh seal, the seven trumpets, which are the seventh seal. So it says, and we also asked them their names in order to inform you, so we could write the names of the men at their head. And this is the answer they gave us, saying, we are the servants of the mighty one of heaven and earth, and we are building the house that was built many years ago, which a great sovereign of Israel built and completed. But because our fathers provoked the mighty one of heaven, he gave them into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, the Kasdiah, who destroyed this house and exiled the people to Babel. But in the first year of Koresh, sovereign of Babel, interesting that it says sovereign of Babel, because he was sovereign of Persia. but Persia conquered Babel. So it was the same area known as Babel when they conquered it. So he became the king of it. Just like the last comes and becomes, destroys the confusion, becoming king in the world that was formerly in confusion or formerly known as Babel. But in the first year of Koresh, sovereign of Babel, Koresh the sovereign made a decree to build this house of the mighty one. We read that in the beginning of the book. We see that when they came to ask them, and this is interesting also, because this part of the story is not mentioned. Obviously, it happened, but it's not mentioned here when it says that they gave them the names. Then we told them what the names were of the men who were building this building. That's all that it says of the conversation they had. After they asked, who has made you a decree to build this house and to complete this wall? Then we told them what the names were of the men who were building this building. And we find that what they said was that in the first year, Koresh, sovereign of Babel, the sovereign made a decree to build this house. So my point is, they came and asked them, who gave you the order to do this? They could have said that Yahweh, because he also gave a decree. But they mentioned the first decree, the one sent by the one who conquered Babel, known as Cyrus. But in the first year of Koresh, sovereign of Babel, Koresh the sovereign made a decree to build this house of the mighty one. So it connects this sovereign with Zerubbabel, who was actually doing it physically. The king of Persia did it through his authority. And also the gold and silver utensils of the house of Elah, which Nebuchadnezzar had taken from the Heikal, the temple, that was in Jerusalem and brought to the Heikal of Babel. Those sovereign Koresh took from the Heikal of Babel, and they were given to one named Sheshbazzar, whom he had made governor, and said to him, take these utensils, go deposit them in the Heikal of Jerusalem, and let the house of the mighty one be built on its place. So not only did he give them the order to build, which represent the few, the temple, but also send the utensils to the temple, which represent the many, the body and the blood, the wheat and the grapes, the temple and the utensils, the few and the many. Then the same Sheshbazzar came and laid the foundation of the house of Elah, which is in Jerusalem. And since that time, even until now, it has been in building, and it is not completed. And now, if it seems good to the sovereign, let a search be made in the sovereign's treasure house, which is there in Babel, whether it is so that a decree was made by sovereign Koresh to build this house of the mighty one at Jerusalem, and let the sovereign send us his decision concerning this. So yeah, informants. They were trying to stop the building. So they asked him, could you check if that is true, what we were told, if sovereign Koresh actually did that? Just mention how interesting to find all these names here in just one chapter. I think it's going to be interesting when we read the meanings.